Goes.
Maíz, saco rings,
No.
maíz, rings the bell. The bell. That's the second time he rings the bell.
Yeah, so she rings the bell.
The owner upstairs, then comes downstairs.
Oh yeah,
Look,
you enjoy it. It's lovely, thank
then
you.
it comes downstairs and looks through the window in the lounge next to the kitchen with the dogs in the kitchen. The owner will say that himself upstairs before going
He'll say,
downstairs.
oh, the bell's ringing. I wonder if that's Marissa. So he goes downstairs
And look
and he has a look through the window.
in the lounge next to the kitchen when the dog is in the kitchen.
Yeah, and the dog's in the kitchen and he looks through the lounge window and he goes, oh yes, it is Marissa. So he shouts to the dog. He says,
Huh?
hurry up, dog. Marissa's at the door. So he opens the door and Marissa said, I've come to get the dog.
I'm going to get the dog and
Yeah, he says he's come to get the dog.
and
We're doing number one here.
there's number one
Yeah.
and
So she says, come on dog, make sure you're good this time, and the owner says the same thing. So the taxi's waiting outside, so she gets her and the dog into the taxi.
I will say to the taxi driver
Says,
to go to the airport in Paris.
so it says to the taxi driver, we're going to the airport in Paris. So he said, okay madam, we'll get you there in 10 minutes. So,
5 minutes.
oh, 5 minutes, it's only 5 minutes to the airport in Paris, that's good.
When the taxi driver arrives at the airport in Paris, how both will say to the dog?
So the man said, dog, make sure you're good this time, because every time you've gone, you've been naughty.
Then he get off the taxi, goes inside the airport, and goes have a coke and a muffin.
Yeah.
How say to the dog, he's going to wait for 2 hours at the airport in Paris for the flight to Rome.
It's going to be 2 hours before the flight takes off. So let's go and have a nice drink and a nice chocolate muffin. Yeah, if you could, that would be great. Yeah.
And I talking about and
And so
yeah.
they sit and have a chocolate muffin and a nice drink, and then there's an announcement saying, ladies and gentlemen, the flight to Rome is due to take off. Please go to gate number 16 to board the plane.
Yeah. And the announcement goes up.
Right, so the announcement comes up, so they go to gate number 16, they go underneath the tunnel to gate number 16, and they get on the plane, and then when they're on the plane, you listening?
Yeah.
When they're on the plane, then there's an announcement saying, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with France Air.
Air France.
Air France, yeah.
For the flight to Rome, how will say to the dog inside the airport in Paris?
Well, we're on the plane now.
When the plane's about to take off?
Yeah, and we're saying we're just about to take off. So please fasten your seatbelts and sit still. So she tells the dog to be good and fasten his seatbelt, which he does. So then the flight takes off and the stewardess comes round and they decide to have a nice Coke.
And
So they have a Coke while they're on the flight.
Yeah.
And then an announcement comes again saying, ladies and gentlemen, the flight to Rome is due to descend. Please fasten your seatbelts and we will be in Rome in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So then the plane lands and they get off and they go underneath the tunnel and they go to the taxi rank and they say to the taxi driver, we need to go to the Hilton Hotel, please. So they get in the taxi and the taxi driver says, yeah, it's only 5 minutes to the Hilton. And so they go to the Hilton Hotel and they go to reception and get their key, and they're on the 5th floor.
And until midday.
And it's midday, is it?
Yeah, he's going to the 5th floor. It arrives at 9 o'clock in the morning and goes to stay in the 5th floor until midday.
Okay, so they go into their room and relax until midday.
Yeah.
And then she says we're going to go and have lunch in the airport.
Airport restaurant, and also they every for say hotel holiday or 7 nights. Every day lunch at the airport restaurant and dinner at the airport restaurant also every day.
Yeah, so they go down and they get a taxi and they say, please take us to the airport because we're going to have lunch at the airport restaurant.
And then how?
And so the taxi driver says, yes madam, it's only 5 minutes. So they drive there and they get to the airport, and while Marissa is ordering the food,
Yeah.
while Marissa is ordering the food, the dog drops the music box. No, we've done the Fisher Price. We did the Fisher Price, didn't we?
He goes there and picks up the dog, gets to the airport, he's good, and the dog is good. It's good at the airport in Rome.
Oh, it's good, is he?
Yeah.
We're not going to be doing all 3 stories backwards and forwards, are we?
Yeah.
No, we'll just do one today. So, she orders the food and the dog is really good.
At the airport in Rome.
In the airport in Rome.
Yeah.
And so they have a lovely lunch.
Yeah.
And then they get a taxi back to the hotel. And they stay 7 nights in the hotel. And they have a lovely time. And then Marissa checks out the hotel and says to the taxi driver, take us back to the airport. And so they go to the airport and they go under the tunnel and they board the plane.
Here's the announcement inside the airport. Inside the airport in Rome is for the flight to Paris.
Yeah, it says, ladies and gentlemen, the flight to Paris is due to take off. Please board the plane at gate number 2.
And
so they get to gate number 2 and they get on the plane.
at least
they sit down.
At least the dog on the plane. The dog goes on his own.
Oh, he's going on his own, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so she lets the dog go onto the plane and says goodbye to the dog and says thank you for being such a good dog on this holiday.
Yeah.
So they get on the plane.
Yeah.
And the dog hears the announcement that says, ladies and gentlemen and dogs, please fasten your seatbelt because we are just about to take off. And so the dog does this and he sits really good all the flight and enjoys the flight.
Yeah.
And then there's another announcement that says, ladies and gentlemen, the flight is due to descend into Paris. Please fasten your seatbelt. So the dog does this. Again, he's being very, very good.
Yeah.
And the plane lands, and then he goes under the tunnel, and his owner is waiting for him.
How do I know what to say?
And the owner says, well done for being such a good dog.
We'll do it
I'm going to give you a lovely big dinner when you get home.
We'll do the dog from Rome at the airport in Paris with Marisa. We do it, then now we do the second one. The second one, please.
We'll do one more. We're not doing all 3. One more. Okay?
One more,
Because then we need to go to. You want to go to Costa?
Yeah, one more, then later.
No, then we go to Costa. Then we go. I need to go to Boots and Chemist.
Then we do the first one later. Then we do the first one later.
We'll see when we've got time. Right?
Yeah. About the dog. Goes to how.
What's the next one?
I want to read. The dog from the goes pick up the dog in a house in Rome, and rings the bell. Who's on upstairs? They come downstairs. Yeah. The owner, Marie's son, rings the bell at the house in Rome when the owner upstairs.
Yeah, and the owner says, oh,
Bye himself.
I wonder who that is at the front door. So he goes down and has a look through the lounge window and he sees that it's Marissa and the dog's in the kitchen, so he says, hurry up, dog, because Marissa's at the door and you're going wrong way. So they open the door and Marissa says, I've come to pick up the dog, and the dog goes out with Marissa and gets in the taxi, and they say to the taxi driver, please take us to the airport. So they go to the airport, and when they get out, the taxi driver says to the dog, this time be a really good dog.
The man goes go pick up the dog, and that's the first time.
Right.
How the taxi driver, how Marie's, and the taxi driver, how both will say to the dog.
You say, last time you were good.
The dog from Rome, from the dog from Rome goes to pick up the dog in the house in Rome. That's the first time.
Yeah, and then it says, you make sure you're good on this holiday.
Goes inside the airport, wait for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's 2 hour wait before the plane's taken off. So
The announcement comes about the flight to Paris.
yeah, and then the announcement comes up and it says, ladies and gentlemen, we are now boarding the plane for Paris. Please go to gate number 22. So Marissa and the dog, they walk through the tunnel and get on the plane. And they sit down on the plane, and when they're sitting down on the plane, the announcement comes and it says, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to take off. Please make sure your seatbelts are secure and please do not attempt to stand up while we're taking off. And so the plane takes off, and so they sit and enjoy the flight, and then another announcement comes to say, ladies and gentlemen, the plane is due to descend into Paris. Please fasten your seatbelts. So they do that, and the plane lands, and then they go through they get off the plane and go through the tunnel, and they go to the outside to the taxi rank, and the taxi, they say to the taxi driver, please take me to Hotel Continental. And so he says, yes madam, it will be 5 minutes. So they get in the taxi and they go into the hotel, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
It goes up to the 5th floor, stays in the 5th floor until midday.
Yeah, and they go up to the 5th floor and they relax in their hotel room until midday.
Yeah.
And then Marissa says, we're going to go and have some lunch.
At the airport restaurant.
At the airport restaurant.
How will say to the taxi driver?
So he says, please take us to the airport because we're going to have some lunch in the restaurant. So it's only a 5-minute drive, so they drive to the airport.
Yeah.
They get out, and why Marissa is ordering the food?
The dog from the dog
gets hold of the music box.
The dog from where?
Paris.
The dog from Rome. The music box of the lady from the bike when my was going the food and the cook at 12 midday at the airport in Paris.
Yeah.
And the guy will hear the noise.
He hears the noise and says, I wonder, oh my goodness, what was that? this music box all smashed to pieces on the escalator, and then he sees the dog and he says that's a very naughty dog.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he goes and finds Marissa.
How old is he?
And he says to Marissa, this dog has been very, very naughty. He's broken the lady's music.
He dropped it from the balcony to the escalator.
Yeah, and he dropped it from the balcony to the escalator.
And
And so Marissa wasn't happy, so she cancelled the food order
yeah.
and took the dog into the airport where the aeroplanes are boarding. And there's an announcement to say
Comes up.
Yeah, it comes up to say
For the flight to Rome.
flight to Rome is going to take off. So she says to the dog, I am sending you back to your owner for being such a naughty dog.
Goes taking to the tunnel and leaves the dog and the dog go on his own.
Yeah, so he goes through the tunnel, he gets on the aeroplane, and then there's an announcement to say, ladies and gentlemen and dogs, the aeroplane to Rome is just about to take off. Please fasten your seatbelt slightly, and the plane takes off.
And
And then after a while there's another announcement to say, ladies and gentlemen and dogs,
yeah.
the plane is descending into Rome. So please fasten your seatbelt. So the dog does what he's told and he's good.
Yeah.
And then the plane lands and the dog walks through the tunnel and his owner is waiting for him. And the owner is very angry. He says, you've been such a bad dog.
And then the dog goes on a kind of 24 hours. And when 24 hours goes past, I will say to the dog,
After 24 hours he says, have you learnt your lesson?
yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, then we go Marie rings the doorbell. They rings the bell again at the house in Rome.
Marissa comes back to pick up the dog again, and so she rings the bell, and the owner's upstairs, and he says, oh, I wonder who's at my door. So he goes downstairs, looks through the lounge window, and there is Marissa.
Yeah.
Yes, so he says to the dog, Marissa's here to pick you up for your holiday. So Marissa picks up the dog and takes the dog into the taxi and says to the taxi driver, please drive us to the airport. So they get to the airport and then there's an announcement to say that the plane is boarding to Paris. So Marissa said we better hurry up today. So they go through the tunnel and they get to gate number 2 and they get on the plane, and while they're on the plane there's an announcement to say, ladies and gentlemen, we are due to take off in 2 minutes. Please make sure your seatbelt is fastened securely. So she says to the dog, you better hurry up and fasten your seatbelt. And the dog fastens his seatbelt and the plane takes off.
Yeah.
And they have a lovely flight.
Yeah.
And then there's another announcement to say, ladies and gentlemen, the flight is due to descend. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened securely. And Marissa and the dog checked their seatbelts and they were fastened. So the plane lands in Rome.
Yeah.
And then they go through the tunnel and they get a taxi and they say to the taxi driver, take us to the Hotel Continental. So we go to the Hotel Continental, which only takes 5 minutes to get there.
Arrives at 9 in the morning and goes up to the 5th floor.
And they arrived at 9 o'clock in the morning
And goes
they
up
go up to the 5th floor.
and stays in the room in the 5th floor until midday.
And they relax watching TV
Until midday.
until midday, and then Marissa says, I'm hungry, let's go and have some lunch at the restaurant in the airport.
Airport restaurant every day for lunch and also dinner.
Yeah. So they go every day to the restaurant in the airport to have their lunch, and then they go back and have their dinner, and they stayed at the hotel for 7 nights, and the dog was really good. really good. So Marissa, after 7 nights, takes the dog back to the airport, and there's an announcement to say that the flight to Rome is due to take off. So she takes the dog, and the dog goes on his own
yeah,
back to Rome.
yeah.
Yeah. And when he gets to Rome, he gets off the plane and he goes under the tunnel, and his owner is waiting for him, and the owner is so happy. He gives the dog a big bone as a present to eat.
It was